What's the dumbest reason you've ever wanted to fight a teacher? I was taking a history test and I felt really good about it. I studied, I knew the material, and I was ready. I finished early, stood up to turn my paper in, and right as I walked up, the kid behind me stood up too. I didn't think anything of it. I just handed in my test and sat back down. 2 minutes later, the teacher squints at our papers, calls both of us to his desk and says, "One of you cheated." I was confused at first. Then he flips our tests around, and they're almost identical. I turned to the kid behind me and he looked really guilty. It was obvious. He definitely copied off my test. There was literally no way I could have cheated. He sits behind me, so he probably just looked at my test while I was taking it. Simple logic, right? Apparently not. Because the teacher folds his arms, looks at us and says, "Well, one of you is lying, but he got a higher score, so I'm guessing it was you." I almost passed out. What? That wasn't even possible. I tried to argue. How could I cheat off of him if he sits behind me? And this man with full confidence just says, "Maybe you have a good imagination." What does that even mean? I was seconds away from throwing hands. I pleaded my case. I practically gave a TED talk on why I wasn't the cheater. But the teacher just sighed and went, "Either admit it or I'm giving you detention." I stared at him. I stared at the other kid who was clearly sweating. And I realized something. I lost. So I just sighed, clenched my jaw and said, "I guess I have detention then." Then I walked back to my desk.